You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So, Jay, Zac Alley speaking at the OU football coaches luncheon, getting ready for fall camp, answering a number of questions, and had this to say. George Stoya over at Sooner Scoop wrote a great article over there. Highly recommend it. We'll drop the link in our episode notes. But here's what Alley had to say. He said, well, the first thing is that it feels like home. That's what I felt like. Coming back and being a part of things, like Coach V said, I grew up with him being my mentor and learning everything I know and the game from him. That perspective is what's driven me throughout my career. So having a chance to come back and align with that vision and just the structure and the way we do things and the faith base that we have and the great kids we get to coach, it's been a really easy and great transition. I'm really happy to be here, Jay.
Yeah, Zac Alley is a clone of Brent Venables. We joke about that, but no, seriously, when I was there for the camps that they had in June with all the young players or whatnot, and the ones typically who they decide on who they're going to give offers to and everything, I heard a guy talking in the background. I'm like, okay, Venables over there addressing the players and stuff. That's cool. And I look around like, wait, Venables is over there. And I look up, I'm like, wait a minute, is that Alley? And so I was there with some of the other insiders, and they laughed. It was like, yeah, he really does similar cadence, similar style, and he doesn't have as much rasp, but it's hard to tell unless you're really staring at him. And no, that dude is definitely a clone of Brent Venables. Even the players say it. That's the running joke at practices. Like, you don't know which is which until you look at him. Danny Stutzman mentioned that while we were at the SEC Media Days, that dude sounded like. So I guess for me, with Venables hiring him, the comfort that he's putting out there kind of makes me feel like now Venables is really going to get to that CEO role.
It seems like it. And I think that's been the trajectory. And I kind of mentioned this to some other people I was talking to, that I wonder if this was kind of the plan all along, bring in somebody that can kind of bridge while Zac Alley's getting that defensive coordinator experience somewhere else. And then Venables can feel more comfortable saying, like, hey, listen, he may not have Power 5, defensive coordinator experience, but he's got the experience and he's got the success to back it up. We can bring him on board, and I can vouch for this kid now. I knew it was going to be great all along, and he's got a guy that he's comfortable with. He doesn't have to oversee it so much. He doesn't have to kind of lord over what the defensive coordinator is going to do. Obviously, he's going to have his hands in the mix. He's going to be in charge of it, but I think he's going to feel more comfortable taking a step back and allowing Alley to run the defense, to scheme how he sees fit, to deploy the defensive play calls like he wants to. And Venables can be in his and Seth Luttrell's ear, doing more of the game management stuff that you need from your head coach, saying to Jeff Lebby, hey, listen, we need to kill some more clock here. Talking to Zac Alley. I say Jeff Lebby in the past, but to Seth Luttrell now, like, hey, we're up 10. Let's make this a drive that counts. Let's make this a drive that kills a little bit of clock. And now he's able to talk to Zac Alley at the same time and be like, hey, let's get a little bit aggressive on this third down. Just the little things, not have to say, hey, I don't like that play call, we're going to switch to this.
And that's what's critical for this coming season, right? Is we need Venables to have more of a CEO mindset. That way he can manage that time, right? That way he can, tap one coach and say, hey, Luttrell, can we, slow things up, or can we speed this up? It looks like they're on their backs. He can really survey the entire situation and be able to really assess it. And I like the fact that Alley, he coaches similar to Venables, because that does make that transition so much easier. I know that was a concern or a question that a lot of people had, because Oklahoma has 2 new coordinators, and it's like, well, you got guys that have done the same thing the year before, right? Like, Alley runs a similar defense with a little bit more aggression. Now, I can definitely see us being very aggressive when we play here in the SEC, because that's going to be a good way to impose our will on these teams, right? We want them to feel our presence. They want them to know that when they turn over at night, they have a little nervous that they're going to see an Oklahoma helmet laying on the pillow right next to them. We want them to sleep and ask questions as to why did I even play this game? I would like some of these players to end up in stories where they call into a show and say, yeah, this is why I quit football. Yeah, we played Oklahoma and they did this one thing. I wasn't about that life.
I'm looking forward to seeing how that transition looks this year, because so much of what you hear as the differences between coordinators a lot of time is just terminology, right? Scheming is the same. There's only so many ways that you can run defense, but how you express defense in communication, that kind of stuff matters. And it can vary from defensive coordinator to defensive coordinator. And listen, Ted Roof, he's a very experienced assistant coach. He's had success at different levels, but I never got the feel that he was a great communicator. Now, maybe he's different with the team. Maybe he's different in the locker room, but with the media, he just never seemed to have that same comfort level communicating things. And again, it could be very different when you're in front of the media versus when you're in front of your group of players trying to, express the game plan and things like that. But, Zac Alley, being a Brent Venables mini-me, he does not seem to have any issues expressing himself. He's very clear. He's concise. And that kind of stuff matters. And the players have talked about how he's been able to kind of take what the defense is, a complicated defense, and make it understandable, make it more understandable for them. And his youth is going to be an asset because he's going to be able to relate to these players a little bit more. He said this before you jump in. He said this about Danny Stutzman. I thought was really, really intriguing. He said, Danny is a coach on the field. He's anticipating. He understands exactly what we're trying to do. And just as a leader of men, he's really, really good. And he understands who people are and knows how to connect with the guys on the team, whether it's offense or defense, and he leads in every aspect. So just awesome to have a rock-solid middle inside linebacker coming back that can help run the defense. And that is huge. Yes, you have a new defensive coordinator, but you have the leader of your defense back. And that helps to streamline that communication too.
Yeah, especially because he's been in the system for 3 years, right? Now you've got the guy that can actually teach everybody around him. And that's probably the most important thing and the most critical component of why I'm so bullish on that defense too, is you've got dudes out there teaching everybody. I remember when everybody first got to Oklahoma with Brent Venables, literally the only people that knew how to run the defense was Brent Venables, Miguel Chavis, Ty Bates. That's it. That's it. And I mean, for the most part, Ted Roof knew what he wanted, but running it is two different things.
It wasn't Ted Roof's baby.
Right. This wasn't his baby. This wasn't something he created. Baby. Exactly. Right. Sometimes I want the diaper changed this way. Can you add a little baby powder there? And sometimes you won't add the powder because that's maybe not how you do it, right? So, it'll be all right. But I know when a rash is going to come, when a rash ain't. So for Venables, when it comes to his baby, the focus was, we had some of the aggressions and stuff and compensating for other things. Now, the year two, 50% of the staff and the players know everything, and they're teaching the other 50%. Now it's basically everybody knows, but like the small group that's come in, the 25%, it's a 75-25 ratio, and that's what you always want to be at. You want to be at a 70 to 75% ratio of people that's been in the system at least a year that could teach down to the younger players. That's going to be the difference maker going into the SEC. For us is that experience matters. How do you think Michigan won that natty? It was all old dudes. How do you think TCU got to the natty the year before that? There's a bunch of old dudes, right? Experience sells it.
Yeah, experience is going to matter big when you've got a guy like Danny Stutzman. But in addition to that, Woody Washington, Billy Bowman, Dejon Terry, Gentry Williams in now his third year, Robert Spears-Jennings in his third year in the defense. I mean, you got a number of guys that are going to be able to express what this defense is all about to Des Malone, to Dominic Williams, to the true freshmen that are coming in as well. So super intriguing. And I cannot wait to see how this defense looks with Zac Alley coordinating it and all the influx of talent that they had.